today is brought to us by FanDuel. As the weather gets colder, the NFL offers stay red hot on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. So if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, what are you waiting for? There's no better time to get in on the action than right now. The app is simple to use, and they have a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and much, much more. So visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to kick off the NFL season. That is FanDuel.com/UCSS. FanDuel, an official partner of the NFL, an official partner of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. And with that, let's welcome on Chris Rose to the show. What's up, Chris?
What's going on, guys? Happy Friday.
What do you think about Joe Flacco, Chris? Give us your thoughts.
Well, this reminds me exactly of 1988, and for those Browns fans that are old enough to remember that year, it was it was Bernie and then Danielson in week 2 till I think he broke his ankle, and then Mike Pagel, and then they went back to Bernie, who got hurt in that Monday nighter against the Dolphins, and Don Strock was mixed in there, and then Strock had to win that must-win game, week 16, back when they only played 16 weeks. Against the Oilers. In fact, I'm such a sicko. I went back and watched that full game recently.
That was a great game.
So it was a great game. Webster Slaughter with the late touchdown. I mean, essentially it was a playoff game for the Browns a week early. They win, they're in. They lose, they go home. So it's very reminiscent of that. Calling Flacco off the couch. He wasn't golfing like Don Strock was every day down in Florida. He was just a father of 4 hanging out in, I think, Philly. But I think it's the right move. I think if obviously DTR is not able to go, PJ Walker has done some nice things for this team, particularly in the fourth quarter against San Francisco and Indianapolis. But I can't watch a guy complete 48% of his passes anymore in a quarterback-driven league. I think that Joe Flacco, with this protection, can do a little bit better than that.
That's the hope. We're going to need him to. How do you think the offense changes? Obviously, 2 completely different styles here. Yeah. What are you expecting to see change-wise from Kevin Stefanski in his approach on offense?
Well, it's a good question, Jay. I mean, I'm going to go out and talk to the coach later today for an interview that'll air on Sunday before the game, and that's one of the questions. I mean, how much can you change? He got signed to the practice squad 10 days ago, and I don't think they expected him to be playing this quickly. So, how much does that shorten the playbook? It's not just he's replacing DTR. He's replacing DTR, who replaced PJ Walker, who replaced Deshaun Watson. Those are 3 guys. I'm not going to say they have similar skill sets because Deshaun's is, in my opinion, very different than the other 2 guys. But, we're talking about building mobility into your running program, things of that nature. What was the first play of the game last week? It was a DTR. He kept him. I doubt that'll be the first play this week for Joe Flacco. I guess to me, the most interesting thing will be, Kevin O'Connell had to go through this up in Minnesota with Josh Dobbs on kind of a tighter window because they traded for Dobbs on that Tuesday, and then Dobbs, because Jaron Hall got concussed in a game against Atlanta, had to go in 5 days later. And O'Connell's literally walking Josh Dobbs through each play as long as he can in that headset. How much is that going to take place this week with Joe Flacco? That's something I'll be curious about.
Chris, I was as I was driving and I thought to myself, it's weird a little bit. Kevin Stefanski is pretty much the only guy that I can learn something about this year. Like, I'll learn whether or not his team responds, whether he can, is he good for a couple of games when he doesn't have top-notch talent? Because the rest of the team, there's still a bunch of question marks going into next year. It's almost like a time warp. We wanted to know about Deshaun Watson. We still don't know. Now we got a question about Nick Chubb and the knee. We don't know. There's a lot of different other places, whether or not your tackles are good moving forward. But it just seems as if they make the playoffs. I feel a lot better about all those question marks in the offseason. Am I crazy for that?
No, I mean, I think you have to look at the players certainly on an individual basis, whether they're coming back from injury or how much money they're going to make, because that's something that the Browns have to start looking at. For the longest time, we didn't have to because we weren't talented enough to start re-upping guys. And so if guys were going to walk, you were like, good. We need new guys in their place. Now we have actually so much talent. I mean, it's guys like Grant Delpit, who's in his walk year. JOK, who's going to be a year from free agency next season. Those are guys you want to lock up that you hope that the mathematical wizards who deal with the salary cap are able to work around that and keep them here. As far as Kevin Stefanski, I do want to say this, that is he a perfect play caller? No, right? I mean, the play at the beginning of the fourth quarter, I think, drove a lot of us nuts. It wasn't so much the idea of the call, but asking a guy in Pierre Strong who hadn't touched the ball all game, basically, to handle it on a double reverse. I thought that was kind of tough. But what you tell me, what playoff contender has lost as much high-priced talent as the Browns have this year, right? I mean, nobody has, right? We see what happened with the Bengals in a short span, and I think it could get ugly for them just without Joe Burrow, right? Here, the Browns have lost their starting quarterback, both tackles, the best pure running back in the league, in my opinion. That's a lot. Those are high-priced guys that they're losing left and right, and they're currently holding a wild card spot as we head into Week 13. I think for people that go nuts over Kevin Stefanski and let's get rid of him, they have a serious inability to see the big picture here. And I just want to let you know, I cover all 32 teams. Most fan bases cannot stand their play caller, whether it's their head coach or their offensive coordinator. It's true. They do not. They're like, oh, you're an idiot. Why are you calling this? Calling plays is not easy. Being a head coach and a play caller, there's very few guys that are able to do that well. I actually think Kevin does a pretty good job with it, and I think we got to get off his back because he's done a hell of a job.
Chris, I agree with you. We had that same conversation yesterday, and I don't think that point's been talked about enough. The Browns and all of the attrition that they've had on their roster are still right there. And you mentioned the Bengals. I mean, yeah, granted, Joe Burrow means more to their team than even Deshaun Watson means to this team. But it was funny how as soon as he was out,
I made that point.
Everybody said, season's over, let's play for a draft pick. And your colleagues, I was watching the other day when I was working out on the NFL Network, I thought did a marvelous job of driving home the point of exactly what you just said. We're too close to the fire. And the 30,000 feet view sometimes is the one that you have to pay attention to. Everyone on the network a couple of days ago was saying, this guy's going to get Coach of the Year votes just for keeping this team together and holding this really disastrous season from an injury standpoint together. And sometimes we're so far in the weeds and the minutia of every play call that we tend to be overly critical. But I'm with you. Stefanski's done.
Well, not Jason and I. We've defended Kevin Stefanski all year.
Well, listen,
unlike most of this town.
No, I don't think that's true. That's true. No, most of this town would mean 51% of fans want him fired. It's not. It's nowhere near that. It's just not.
Go ahead, Chris.
Jay, I was actually more curious. So, you did the nice power drop in of while I was working out. Was it a back and buys day? Was it a just and tries?
No, it was actually.
What was it?
I have to confess, I have a torn UCL, so I can't do any weights. It was actually cardio.
So wait a second. You're not going to be ready for spring training, or you are, or what are you going to be like?
I don't know. I'm still in the decision making process. One expert says get the Tommy John. Another one says at your age you want to keep pitching. There's no guarantees. You're about 12 months if you do have the surgery. So I think I'm going to go with PRP shots and
Tanaka. Talk to Tanaka.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I'm gonna roll the dice. It's not like I'm waiting on a $600 million contract like someone else.
Jay, if I see you coming out like the Field of Dreams from some crops, Jay Crawford
with an elbow sling,
200 years old, still throwing pitches.
Hey, Chris, I'll quit when I die.
Is it class photo day for you guys? You all look so nice.
Well, we're doing the TV show. It's funny you said that because on Fridays we do 30 minutes on Channel 3. So we have a dress code for
So you got
Fridays.
The honor roll kids over there in jackets. You got the derelicts over here.
These are the back of the bus gang right here.
I mean, we look
I'm just happy they're wearing pants today.
Wait, are you? That's the question.
Why would you?
Hey, listen, I'm in my home office, so there's
you can do whatever you want.
I do my podcast. I do my home podcast in my underwear all the time. Chris,
TMI.
I know you.
By the way, that's not gonna help you.
It's not gonna help me doing it in my underwear.
Or followers, it's not gonna work.
Oh, it certainly does. People have fat fetishes. You know, Chris. Listen. Do you have an OnlyFans page? Yeah, I certainly should. let's talk from a Rams perspective.
Cancel subscription.
Yeah, come on now. That's inappropriate. Let's talk about from a defensive perspective from the Browns, because the Rams have two of the biggest guys that have come out of nowhere on offense. Puka Nacua, obviously, who was a late-round pick this year, and Kyren Williams, who was a late-round pick last year by the Rams. They've both been sensational. Williams comes off IR last week, has a massive game. Who are you more concerned about, I guess, the passing game or the running game with Kyren Williams from a Browns perspective?
Kyren Williams. Yeah, they were it was consecutive years where they used fifth-round picks on those guys. So Kyren Williams came out of Notre Dame a year ago, was banged up, really didn't get much of an opportunity. And then Puka Nacua this year, obviously, first 2 weeks, 25 catches, set a rookie record for most catches in his first 2 weeks. He's closing in on 1,000 yards on the season. Only 5 rookies have done that. From the 5th round on, I think is what it is, or something ridiculous. I'll check my notes and make sure I get that ready for Sunday. I'll have it buttoned up. But the point is that Kyren Williams, he's really explosive, and he looks fresh. I get it. It was against Arizona, who's one of the worst teams in the league and really can't tackle anybody and doesn't put pressure on the passer and all that sort of stuff. But this is the sort of running back that can give the Browns some issues. He's a little bit like Warren out of Pittsburgh, I think, with his shiftiness, his ability to catch the ball out of the backfield. Had 204 scrimmage yards, so he's the guy that I would circle even more so than Cooper Kupp, who's a bit banged up and just hasn't had a Cooper Kupp season. So he's the number one guy I'm focused on if I'm Jim Schwartz this week.
Hey, Chris, let's wrap it up with this. Chris will be on the call, of course, on the radio this weekend. So obviously people will be listening because nobody wants to listen to Mark Sanchez on TV. Chris didn't say that, I did. Chris, do you have any faith that the Guardians will actually have major league players playing left field and right field this year?
He'll throw in
Well,
center.
that's not fair. Stephen Kwan is...
Let me correct. Major league
Kwan.
power hitters. Major league power hitters.
Oh, okay.
I want to move Kwan to center. Miles Straw's not a starting player. It's absurd that he's been a starter for this long. Kwan in center, and we need to get some corner outfielders with some power. Are they going to do it? You have any faith?
The Laureano deal makes it a little more skeptical for me, really, to be honest with you. I think that they're like, okay, well, we can, we're going to pay him $5 or $6 million or whatever they signed him up for to avoid arbitration. And that's the one that scares me. Like, I think he's a great fourth outfielder. You can play him all over the place. He's a really good defender. He's got a little bit of pop. But if he's the guy who you're saying, yeah, that's our opening day right fielder and we're content with it, I think they're looking at this the wrong way. Listen, I've been as big a Guardians backer as there is in terms of the front office philosophy. I understand that they're real limited because of the Dolan's payroll, but I thought that Chris Antonet was a little off base at the conclusion of last season where he said, home runs aren't the end-all, be-all. When he said that, I get it. It's not the number one thing you're looking for from all 9 guys in the order, but I would like it with more than 1 or 2.
Yeah.
That's what's going to win, and that's what's going to help you win come October. It's what prevented us, I thought, from turning on the Yankees there eventually in that 5-game series in 2022. So I'll still cut them the benefit of the doubt because they've been so good, but that's the Laureano thing is the thing that's kind of giving me a little pause.
Yeah, they've got to get much better in the power game, that's for sure. Chris Rose, good luck on the call. We'll be listening. Always good to have you on.
All right, guys, enjoy class later today. You guys look great, and the other 2 slobs, we'll see you on Monday with a better dressing.
Chris, I think you should call the game in your underwear. That's what I'm suggesting for you.
Pause.
Yeah, that's
That's not gonna
well,
happen.
we are in Los Angeles. We've seen people dressed in very different things at times out
Exactly.
here, so you never know what they're flying out here. It's so fine.
Go for it.
All right,
Thanks,
I'll see you
Chris.
Sunday, guys.